Hello viewers, it's time for makgeolli talk. Time for me to talk to myself and you about makgeolli. First of all, I'd like to thank my viewers, anyone who's commented, subscribed. Please keep it up. I want to hear what you're brewing, what you're drinking, what you like to see. Please keep it up. My favorite thing is to hear that someone is brewing makgeolli or enjoying makgeolli. I want to hear about it. So I appreciate that a lot. Today's topic for makgeolli talk is 4 ways that I am not traditional in brewing makgeolli. Since makgeolli has such a long history, I want to respect that tradition. And one way to respect that is to be aware of the ways that I'm doing things differently than is traditional for one reason or another. So I want to explain those ways that I'm not following tradition and why I'm doing it. So let's get started. Number 1, I brew in a glass jar. That's not traditional. So traditional would be an earthenware jar. That'd be great. I should be able to buy one and brew in that. Then I'd be more traditional, but why don't I? Well, one reason is that simply I'm doing videos. I want to be able to see the brew. That makes for a better video. And also just for me understanding how the brew is progressing, it's a lot easier for me just to look at the side and I can see the different layers. I get more information than just being able to look at the top. So I like that. Now, there's some drawbacks to that. One of it, I have to shield the glass jar from light carefully. I have to keep it in a cabinet away from light. That'd be a lot easier in an earthenware jar that would, of course, be opaque. But so I'm making that trade-off. That's one way that I'm not traditional. Second thing I do that's not traditional is that I add yeast. So why do I do that? Traditional recipe would just have Naruk, and there's yeast in Naruk or in the environment, and I'd get a brew going that way. For almost all of my brews, I add yeast. And the reason for that is to make things more consistent. The wine yeast that I add is, the best yeast for producing alcohol. If I was doing large-scale brewing, I probably would end up with better yeast just in my environment from the continuous brewing. But my brewing is such small scale, I can't trust that the environmental yeast is going to be the one I want. So it's just a lot more consistent to add known good wine yeast to the brew. So that's the reason why most of the time I add yeast to my brews. But I am aware that's not traditional makgeolli brew. The third thing I do that's not traditional is that I use this kind of strainer for filtering my makgeolli. So this is basically kind of plastic filter. I enjoy it. It's very convenient, easy to clean, but it's not traditional. This is not a traditional material or form of the filter. So maybe it would be better to use hemp cloth or a kind of sieve that you press down on and in a wooden frame. I've seen those kinds of things. I don't have that. Those seem like they'd be... cloth is much more difficult to wash. This kind of filter is very easy to clean. So just for convenience, I use this modern kind of strainer, not traditional. And number 4. So the fourth thing that I do that is not traditional is that I keep my makgeolli full strength, undiluted, until the point of consumption, and then sometimes I add water. So there's two reasons for that. First is that it keeps longer in the fridge if I don't dilute it. And the second reason is that it's a little more flexible. I get to control the proportion of water that I add at any point in time instead of deciding at the beginning of the bottling process. So it's for storage time and some flexibility. But again, I am aware that's not traditional. Normally you add the water as you're filtering it. As you're filtering it and bottling it, you add the water at that point to dilute it to the normal makgeolli strength. So I don't do that. So I'm not doing it the traditional way. Despite the fact that I do these non-traditional things, I still feel a connection to the long history of makgeolli brewing. I'm doing things with more modern materials and conveniences, but I still enjoy that connection to the past. And I do want to learn more about what really makes, what's really part of the traditional recipes for makgeolli. I do want to learn more about that. Please let me know if you have any comments about this. If you know some traditional aspects or recipes of makgeolli brewing, please let me know. I know I have a lot to learn. Anything I do learn, I do want to share with you, my viewers. So I appreciate that. If you like this video, please subscribe. Stay tuned for next week. New makgeolli video every week. Thank you for watching.